Folks, this is explosive knowledge. It's Canada, the Indian 51st state of the United States of America. $1 trillion offer, $1 million to every Canadian First Nations person, a little over $1 million in the books, but what is actual and factual? No adoptions are allowed. A whole bunch of things in the United States bring the current claimed number in Canada way, way down. You actually have to be a Indian-blooded person, North American Indian. And I'm going to show you my notes of this analysis, not a whole lot. I want to hit some major points here that people don't seem to understand. Now, folks are going off, is Canada the 51st state over? I'm going to say this for the umpteenth time. There are currently 50 states in the Union. And folks, all of those statehood paths required the people of the prospective state, whether it be through military, whether it be through annexation the American way, whether it be through an enabling act or a purchase emissions act into the Union. All 50 states, folks, all 50 have all the same prerequisite, meaning there's no other prerequisite. You had to choose of the people, for and by the people of the prospective state. Not the rest of America, not nothing else. Those people in the prospective state made the choice. How did they make the choice? They did constitutional conventions that then satisfied the United States or were already predetermined to satisfy the United States federal government at a state level. And then they held a referendum for and by the people in the prospective state to become a state. Nobody else. America doesn't vote. The other states don't vote. The governors don't vote. All Americans don't vote. They've never had a say. Anybody else, cockamamie, anything else, is completely, absolutely, 100% wrong. There's no other way into the United States as a State of the Union. Do we have that understood now? Because there is nobody out there anywhere in the 341 million Americans or all 41 million Canadians to show anything other than that absolute truth. Okay? So I'm going to tell you how this analysis works. Canadians believe in their pit of pits in their gut, all the crown lands belong to them. Yeah. Your federal crown, your provincial crowns, seemingly have manipulated you into believing that those lands really belong to you, even though constitutional acts of Canada do not say such a thing. They tell you who is bestowed upon which powers in those lands over who, and that's whomever you elect, whether it be provincial or federal, in those two lands. How did provinces get crown lands? By an act of the federal crown. Those provincial crowns are sworn to it. How did they get the lands? Through treaties with the First Peoples of Canada, whether that be unceded and claims made against them in Indian wars still running today. Okay? There are two provinces who are still running Indian wars today. Of course, there's no soldiers or nothing. They just keep that going without acting above a 3% threshold that triggers countries like the United States to kick Canada's ass. Like a whole pile of other countries, you can go on the UNSC resolutions page, United Nations Security Council. You can pull every country that went over those thresholds and got their butts spanked. Yes, UNSC votes, but who's effectually the military might since World War II to largely deal with that? Well, Soviet Union dealt with their share, but since the Soviet Union, that's it. Who's always been there? Oh yeah, the United States of America, outside of UK and France, in some selective weak regions. Yes, some colonial assets still held by UK, some island Commonwealth properties. Yes, France in the Pacific. Are they effectual today in 2026, going back many, many decades? Could they repeat any of that today as they are? The answer is no. USA can do it everywhere in the world. Russia right now with Ukraine can't do a whole lot. Why do you think USA is going around the world changing everything? Our biggest competitor in the UNSC is Russia, and they're tied up. They can't do anything. And you won't find a history of China really powerfully in this. They do sneakily economic systems and security breaches of country by getting into their political system and then owning and controlling it largely through debt systems. That's how China rolls. Is it as effectual as the United States? No. The United States has a hammer. They've always used it. It's always worked out for them. Nobody can attest to any other truth. Now, I'm going to show you this. The $1 trillion analysis, not a whole lot, right? Look, there's nothing in the back. It's just an old forum page of mine. So I'm using this just for notes to keep it smooth, keep everybody in line. So folks got all, that's not possible. There's no way the USA would ever entertain offering 1 million First Peoples legitimate in Canada, ICC Inuit, unceded, ceded, numbered and named treaty Indians, and absolutely Métis. They say there's no way he would offer every man, woman, and child $1 million and get that passed in Congress, right, everybody? That couldn't be possible. Canada would never even entertain something like that. Well, per capita, Canada absolutely did. Carney just passed with conservatives and liberals together before his majority. He passed his budget. Per capita, that's exactly the same thing as USA offering $1 million to every single man, woman, and child, First Nations. 1 million of them. Easy. No problem. Now, folks say the USA would never, ever honor that. Really? Because Trump just pushed forward $1.5 trillion for the U.S. military only. That's going through Congress, Senate, and House. That's going through right now. It's likely to get passed, as it always does. So don't tell me in your minds, with 341 million Americans in a $30 trillion economy, what they will debt load or not debt load to secure themselves on the world stage as definite. Now let's look at America. Everybody likes to go, oh my God, the federal government debt right now. 38 trillion. Trump, once he gets his military budget, it's going to sail past 39 and some trillion dollars. When you work out debt to actual asset value of the United States, it's 9-1. So everybody, right? Okay, this is getting a little hairy for America. A debt to GDP ratio 122.6% today. likely to shoot up to 128% with that military addition I just told you about. Military only on top, new ask, right? We got to really strengthen America. Folks think that's impossible. It's going to be shown. It's been done all the time. They didn't get to $38 trillion debt with nothing but passing trillion-dollar advances in all kinds of causes. Why would this one be totally different and would win absolutely a majority of Democrats and Republicans? There's lots of reasons. We're cockamamie Canadians, ignorant Canadians, conservative, liberal, everything in between, everything on its far extremes. There's something Canadians don't understand, and that's called American Indian history in the United States of America post Canada's Indian Act. We diverge hard from the Dawes Act, all against Indians, assimilation, version of Indian Act America that lasted 2 decades, bounced to 105 years ago. I'm going to go through with you. Under Republican President Calvin Coolidge, I've gone over these lots, but I want to make sure it's understood. Republican presidency, Calvin Coolidge, passed in 1924 the Indian Citizenship Act. And since 1924, all American Indians don't have to give up any tribal rights, nothing, treaties, any allotments, nothing, and they are automatically American citizens. You get American Indian citizenship equal to that of Americans. Yeah. Okay? That's the first one. That is completely a Y in the road between the United States of America and Canada till this day. Do you get it, Canadians? These are human beings equal to every other American. This country was built with them. It's an infusion of them into making this great system, because American Indians invented federalism. I know Canadians don't know this, but they did. Americans know it in majority, both parties. No one will deny it. You can watch the PBS. The first thing they do in that multi-series after the War of Independence is tell you how they were able to resist UK using American Indian federalism, which they enshrined, went forward, which they've been now in a constitutional republic for 250 years this year. All off the American Indians. It's very special to the United States, because the United States wouldn't be the superpower it was without Indian political science they invented. It's not the only thing, but I'm pointing it out for 1924. So already coming on 103 years ago, Canada hasn't crossed this Y in the road. They're still under, even older than that for Americans. It's 140 some years ago where they suspended the Dawes Act. Canadians kept going with their Indian Act till this day. Non-human beings, not equivalent to other human beings, even though there's all kinds of classes of subjects who are not equal, but this is at the low limits of recognizing human beings. Okay? That's one. Number 2, Indian Reorganizing Act 1934. It ended the loss of all American Indian lands, restoring self-government, religious practices, power of a state equal to a U.S. state, land back as long as you codify your constitutions. That was a Democrat, Republican, Franklin D. Roosevelt. So here we are, Republicans moving this way. Democrats said, you know what, you're right. You can read all their high committees of both parties over those eras from 1887 all the way through the transition into first 1924, then into 1934. They hit World War II. Things go on the shelf, but a lot happened for First Nations, a lot better than any, I should say, not First Nations, American Indian citizens. Changed forevermore. It got a lot better. We get all the way to finally, after World War II, this Cold War, and then American Indians start going toe-to-toe with the government again. There's a military conflict. They get the guns out. They make a stand. And out of that stand comes one Republican, President Richard Nixon. First ending the Vietnam War, first break in American wars, literally since World War II. First thing he does is recognize American Indians, passes the Education Act. You will be funded. You will run your own education systems on all your nations. You will. You will educate your own people. None of this residential school crap like Canada. This is the United States of America. Way, way long time ago, many, many decades before Canada, Canada's still a psychotic mess, treating people as non-human beings. Fact, folks, not fiction. From 1972 up to 1974, the Indian Finance Act, again, under Richard Nixon, you will be treated in the same financial respect in your tribal lands and through all this self-government, and these systems, these public systems that you're taking on, we will allow finance to pass through to you. You will be allotted, no different than any other American. Then he gets impeached in 74, as he does the Indian Self-Determination and Full Education Assistance Act. That is all social services, job unemployment for tribal peoples. It's self-determination now, taking on all those agencies unto them, their own public sector. Okay? Running all their own services. That's reality of American Indians. There hasn't been any major violent revolutions or major protests by the American Indian citizens. Why? Because they have the exact same powers as state. When nations codify constitutions, unto them, the American Indian citizen tribal peoples in that nation within a nation. Some have gotten really big in the settlements. They've still got 2/3 to do. Most out east, most in those northern Democrat states. All not really because it's Democrats' fault, but because of the war with what is now Canada, what was British Quebec, and all of that area. 13 colonies. Yes, a lot of it still today remains unsettled. So you people, you Canadians, who think you know how the world works, America's made treaties. They've never dissolved the Jay Treaty, allowing the free flow of First Nations from Canada. You want to work in America? You want to move to America? You can do that. You are separate, equal citizens. You can go through your same peoples in America because you're human beings. You're sovereign unto yourselves, equal to a state in these nations within the nation. Freely travel there, interact. You are granted citizenship. You have free travel. You can work there. They even have government programs, their own system for all of those nations who've codified. Do many still have to? Sure. They codify, can look at land back. Some can't get it because Canada's got it. These wars that nobody likes to talk about, the ruler with rulers Donald J. Trump talks about, that nobody wants to address or talk about. Canada's first people were roped into those treaties. America knows their history. They know their own shame. They have made right in many areas, and Canada hasn't even touched the file. They remain as they were British Empire. We are the vastly superior. Is this Canadians' fault? No. But your ignorance is ignorance nonetheless. Ignorance the United States doesn't share. So let me ask you something. If you're the mighty USA and you're Donald J. Trump, or pick any of your favorite Democrats who could possibly be the next 2029 president in imagination, it wouldn't matter. Do you think at the debt to GDP ratio, with the debt to asset ratio of the United States, do you think it's wise for any American president to go to the Congress after submitting an offer to all the Canadian First Peoples and say, listen, Canada doesn't pay NATO, Canada doesn't pay NORAD, has all these highlights, all this atrocity since 1960. We will promise you all of these rights. Not only will we allow all the reserves you have, whether they're functional or not, that all remains yours, but listen, we think that you should sign a new treaty with us. We will pay you $1 trillion, which is $1 million for every man, woman, and child. 1 million, I'm stating the number, 1 million First Nations in Canada. We will give you all $1 million. Every man, woman, and child. Yes, blood quantum's important. They're not going to get too particular on 50%. If you have all your paperwork's in order, you're with the nation. But no adoptions, no fraudulence, no I'm 99% white or right, all these other races, there's no adoptions. It wouldn't matter. It's not even just white. There's East Indian people, there's South Americans that don't have the same blood quantum. They can tell. They know where you're from. We're talking about North American peoples, original peoples, American Indian citizens, and all of those narrated as First Nations in Canada. That's what USA is talking about, or would be talking about. In this analysis that isn't cockamamie, it's not crazy. When you have diluted and polluted majority Canadians going, F USA, this is ours, and here's USA, in their history going, actually, no, it's not yours. It was sold to you by an East India trading company who didn't do any wars. You didn't do a war. You manipulated and tricked these people. Then you tried to kill them off secretly, plain friend. We had Indian wars. We made settlements. We didn't do any nowhere near the evil you did. It shows by the numbers. There's way more American Indians than there are Canadian First Peoples. It's not supposed to be that way when you look at history. If you start looking at war numbers, the American Indian folks did very well on that side of the British North American boundaries that then Canada established and then created these provinces out of it without any consultation of First Nations or any petitioning of First, none of that, right? They like to hold their rules, which they've done very, very publicly and judiciously, publicly for all Americans to read. So I'm going to ask everybody again, everything I've just told you in this video, you're an American in the high places of government. You know everything I just presented to you. You know the whole history very well. You understand it good. You know Canada's, British North America's, New France's. You know how this has all transpired. You were around for absolutely 250 years. You're celebrating it this year. And you're going to let some cockamamie know-nothings in a small, sporadically populated area, all bunched up against the border like a great wall of North American expansion, claiming vast lands is yours, vast resources is yours. But America can play this all kinds of ways. If they can't convince Canadians they could easily offer 1 million American Indians, completely making all the First Peoples of Canada the most wealthiest people in the entire world per capita. No one anywhere comes close. Not only that, that automatically reshores up the Jay Treaty so that all 6.5 million American Indians are now able to actually cross the border. There's nothing Canadians can do about it, or now you're attacking American citizens, and they'll hurt you. They'll hurt you. Think about this scenario where, hey, these are all our resources we got in developments largely from foreign direct investment from the United States, but now all of a sudden there's a new treaty. All the same treaties the current First Peoples have, but expanded megafold, where now you get of the Crownlands, America says, well, we would like federal control of 80%, you get 20, 1/5, right? And because now the Jay Treaty will apply both ways, you can rebuild all your peoples in Turtle Island like you've always wanted to and reshore your federalism, real self-government, self-determination, all of it, your own governing system with our help, partners together, equal citizens. We'll do that for you, and here's our whole history. Show me your Canadian history that remotely comes close to this, because we'd like to settle out all these other peoples too. And then if we have the 80% federal lands, we can finish off those other states in conjunction with your people. That moves the needle forward for First Nations in Canada like never, ever before. If you think this is cockamamie, this is real in-depth knowledge of the United States history just in the last 105 years. People who think this is out of left field, what's out of left field is when America is now reporting consistently, Canadians are completely fried. They've been taken by foreign influences. They're no longer trustworthy. They very well may be hijacked by China, are being churned into Chinese communist affiliates in a majority, hate America, no different than what Venezuela was and still has a lot of that in it, or Iran, right? All these enemies of America where they gotta go, listen, you're hostile, we can't work with you, we give you an offer, you come back crazy as hell. We don't see that with UK subjects. This is specific to a hate on from Canada, who's blaming us for shortchanging us rent. This is someone who lived on the couch as a bum, enjoying all the rich resorts of Americans' hard work, not contributing like a State of the Union, even though getting all the perks of the State of the Union off of all the other 50 states. I can tell you, when America runs this through in the Congress, Senate, and then they start running it through America, and you watch all the pundits from both sides start arguing this, and whether you're a Democrat or Republican, think about this, Canadians, you should really understand this at the core level. That act of $1 trillion offer to 1 million First Peoples, that is peanuts to what U.S. would get back immediately just in real estate, an addition of $20 trillion valuation of assets. That's not developing anything. That's just signing that kind of treaty with the First Peoples of Canada, all of them, all million. Yeah, it's a House and Senate application. Whoopee-doo. They've just gained $20 trillion valuation, just like a house mortgage, assets against liabilities. If all of a sudden somebody gifts you a huge chunk of asset, right? They gift you a cottage in Florida on a beautiful property. Let's say that's worth $200,000. You currently have a $500,000 mortgage in Ontario, right? And someone just gifts you $200,000. Now you have collateral against your outstanding balance, right? Now all of a sudden your credit rating explodes. All your interest rates go way, way down, rock bottom. That's what Americans get for their $1 trillion investment. They certainly won't get that entirely in military. It's effectual. I get why they're doing it. It makes sense. Shore up your powers, shore up your trade routes, shore up your value and supply chains, crush your enemies. I get that. That does give a return. That's worked great for America. It always does. But this is something where it's a physical asset. Now, all First Nations, not only did you get a valuation personally of $1 million each USD, and now you have your own state because it's your state. Yeah, just like currently in Canada, instead of you on 0.35% of Canada, and the federal government and the provincial government's crowns have 89% of the land locked away for their interests, and always, yeah, we'll consult you, my ass. We only say consultation when it's against us. We use you. And we'll run through you all the time, and they're going to be doing it very soon, running through First Nations. You'll see it. BC, all through the West, out to the East if they have to. They don't give a crap, right? Shut up. It's only when it's other people presenting or private interests that don't float our boat. Take your little peanuts. We're getting the big gold bars, right? And this is the thing, and sure, they'll pay off chiefs. But imagine all First Nations, where now all of a sudden from 0.35%, you get 1/5 of the country. It's yours. It's now your state with 20, instead of 89, it's now 80%. 80% is USA's of that. Their valuation goes up 20 trillion. They're tickled pink. They're going to work with you. They're going to put the Golden Dome right across US, missile defense, airports, bases, development, militarily all over it that they want to. But at the same time, the roads, the mega connections, all of it, the internet, power, water, all of that will connect you to all your new lands too. Your 1/5. You'll get developed with them in your state. Canadians would be left with the 11% for not wanting to be a part of America and claiming all of that apparently they have dog sleds, these little sticks in the ground flags, and they've transplanted First Nations generation after generation, taking them from other areas. I mean, maybe not so much a lot of that now, but they did that for a long, long time. I'll put it to you this way, 120 out of the 150-year plus history of Canada, the country, they've been doing that. As long as they ran residentials, even day schools, all the way up until the 2000s and 10s, they've been doing that to First Peoples for Arctic. Look, we got them. Like they're 1,000 Inuit Rangers, right? On dog sleds, if there's skidoos. There's no military ability there. There's nobody there. People are living like crap in the ICC Arctic world. They have the worst cost of living beyond anybody else in North America. They're struggling hard. Boiled water advisories, if not toxic lands, or barren and nothing, having to go to the government store, paying astronomical monies. People suffer. That'll end with the United States. 100%. The investment will flow. The government will be there. That would be the State of the Union. What would that do, everybody? For on the other side of it, for Americans, what would that do in a 5 to 30-year analysis, having all of the 89% federal and provincial crown lands that currently provinces and federal government enjoy? In rich resource extraction, all of this, it's all of a sudden America's, American Indians, meaning Canadian First Nations. What does that do to the economic situation of America going forward in 5 to 30 years? Goodbye debt to GDP ratio. I can tell you that. AI will tell you that. In that kind of development, that's many hundreds of billions for both the First Nations of Canada and America in a developed State of the Union in that respect. Now, it could be all Canadians and First Peoples, cherished 51st state. That's the one I want. But with a mass majority, Donald J. Trump facing so much opposition, being in a predicament that could equal who? Oh, yeah, Richard Nixon. What other president? Oh, yeah, Calvin Coolidge. Oh, yeah, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who did all these monumental things. So if Trump's chips are down near the end of his presidency, let's say, like he said today, I don't care if I lose the midterms. Iran's that important to me. He'll sacrifice midterms. He's having a meeting with the Republicans now. And this went through for President Richard Nixon, Calvin Coolidge, Franklin D. Roosevelt. They still got these things done because when the chips are down, but you're still the executive, you can always pull a magic card of the hat. And if Canadians and First Peoples don't think in a scenario, the worst case scenario for us would be Trump gets wiped out in the midterms, still executive, get near the end of his presidency, has to come up with a Hail Mary. That, in this analysis, is a typical American Hail Mary. I don't give you cockamamie baloney. I give you it as it is, as a real thinker, a real analyst, that if this is the history, this is where they went in all these times in the same predicament under presidencies losing it all. And don't look at Richard Nixon. You should all know that. Watergate fiasco. Wow, he was wiped on Ford, still got the last law done, at least finishing his presidency. But this would be a Hail Mary that you'd have a very, very extremely hard time denying that if in 2028 Trump, with all the chips down, just shifted gears and said, you know what, I don't care, it's going to be my legacy. This is going to happen. Easy or hard way or whatever way works for who? The American Indian and American people, two equal citizens. They have no problem how they get there. And for a cool $1 trillion, that's equivalent of 100 billion to Canadians who can't fathom numbers. They can't. Even though they have to every day of their life. I gotta balance my budget. I gotta make the rent. I gotta make the mortgage. I gotta have the taxes, the property. I gotta be ready for the washer, the dryer, and you budget all that all year. My car payments and the tuition for the kids, and you do all that. But yet in this real analysis, something about, but it's not $20. It's not the crown money that I'm used to holding. It's a different denomination. It's outside my world of the crown. I lose all form of conservatism, real conservatism. Every Canadian lives, every paycheck, every day of the week, all the time with every family dynamic, no matter what, you're ultimate conservatives. But yet in this, I don't know, no, it can't work like that. Couldn't possibly be. I have to be a socialist and a hate-on fascist. Well, America can't be that way. It is designed 100% with its massive checks and balances not to be socialist and not to be fascist. Are there elements there? Sure. But the government can't run that way. There's too many checks and balances. It doesn't run that way. I just read you the history. It obviously and entirely doesn't run that way. The older it gets, the less socialist and fascist it really is. And it's not weak. It's not wimpy. It's ready to go. And if you're America and a president comes with that going, there's this way, folks, I can assure you, as I went through all these laws, Republican and Democratic majority, because if they're thinking, well, I'm going to pick up the country next, they're going to vote for me. Yeah, that'd be wicked. Think of all that we would have that would shore up the government and the people of America for 100 years. You don't think any coming president wouldn't jump on that? Any House and Senate, Democrat and Republican, won't jump on it for the American people, for themselves? Folks, this is entirely accurate, more than plausible. It's absolute, likely, if we don't organize now, continue this push for Canada, the 51st state, on our own terms with the First Peoples. That's reality. And the more separatist cockamamie that's Crown orchestrated, not real separatism. I don't know about Quebec yet. I still gotta have that meeting with Plamondon. We'll see. But folks, if things remain the way they are, the public crazy all across the country, showcased not only by our federal crazy crown, all your provincial crown and majority, 7 out of 10 of them, America knows. You're watching Alberta, this is ours, I'm going to do a referendum question of the... And it doesn't even match anything America's cemented worldwide and clear majority. And you're way out in left field. And then you're telling them, no, F America, we'll do it our way. What are they going to do about it? The world will defend us. They won't defend you. On this file, the world won't defend you. You're being led astray. Texas went through that. They were led astray by UK, France, Spain. They're like this. And in the end, they were left hanging. Like Mark Carney, he's going to deadload all of you and then go, oh my God, nobody came to our aid. Nobody will replace America. No, I don't stand against America. I guess not. EU just signed a trade deal. Moron. And people are there's still media today. They're going, and EU, we're going to have to make an aluminum deal with Canada. No, they're not. You better go read the trade agreement. They just ratified security and trade agreement. They just ratified with the United States. They ain't going to be breaching any of that with you, dummies. But the media lies. They lie for the governments partisanly. They play a game. Pierre says, no, it's Humpty Dumpty. And the other one says, oh no, it's Hickory Tickory Talk. But they're both fairy tales, folks. They're both fairy tales. And that's what people have to understand. This is a huge video. It's a reality that is very, very likely to occur when all the American chips are down and they've run out of gas on you, Canada. And if Canadians don't see it and you think, oh, no, First Nations could never do that. Oh, yeah? $1 million for every man, woman, and child, and 20% of the Crownlands. Currently, they're on 0.35% of the whole country. So it's even worse. If you were to scale it up, you can take away another 10%. So 0.31% to 20%. Think of your valuation. I gave you a $20 trillion untouched land instant valuation. What's 1/5 of that? First Peoples. You've just got a $5 trillion. So you're not $1 million. You're actually $6 trillion. 5 million each in land valuation, 1 million in cash in the bank. All USD. And Canada can say, oh, no, America can't do that. What if all 661 registered bands from ICC, Métis, through all First Nations came together on something like that with any sitting president of the United States right now, which would be Trump? You don't think he'd jump on that and come back and say, hey, you can all be mad at me, but I've just secured this deal. Our investment of $1 trillion and our golden dome on our own that we're going to do anyway with these people developing along with us in their 1/5 will gain us this kind of security going forward for the next 100 years. And we absolutely most certainly can balance our budget and pay off our debt within 30 years like Canada never would or could because they're evil. Americans would jump on that left and right, no matter the president, no matter the level of Republican, Democrat, House and Senate. They would jump on it. You don't think the world would say, look at the monumental deal America made with all of those people who had been completely screwed, devastated, genocided, lied to, abused. America just set the record straight. And then think about the 6.5 million American Indians that can now cross that border freely, who are currently not allowed. See, America says, come on, First Nations, we know you're citizens. We know your value. You know what you've done for our country, and we enshrine that in our system. You're there. You're celebrated in our system with us. You are that eagle. We are two wings on that bird together. If you missed PBS, they don't hide from it, shy from it. They're in your face, and there's a lot more coming. And this is a beautiful time to be alive. It's a beautiful time to be outspoken, share these thoughts, these concepts, these truths, these realities. Even though you take the massive, massive beating, somebody has to speak aloud. Somebody has to talk about it. Or you can sit back, elbows up, and la la la, and then, oh yeah. And what are you going to do then? How did you not see this coming? Somebody shared it to you. Somebody spoke up. And this is something, another way, it's called skinning the cat, many ways to skin a cat. I don't really actually know where the saying comes from. It just comes, right? There's a lot of ways to do one thing. And it's not always the best for everybody involved. But when it comes to America, it's what's best. As President of the United States, any president, what's best for the American people. That's my only job, to do what's best for Americans. That's House and Senate. That's what Americans elect them to, government beholden to them. What do you think the overwhelming majority would be, especially when you start presenting the truth of Canadian First Peoples, how American Indians are treated at the Canadian border, what happens to them, right? You become dehumanized. Where's your passport, savage? Get out of here. I've got tons of video archive up to recently, even in COVID, what happened to American Indians, trying to go look at that, or hunt, fish. There's been Supreme Court, but Canada is miles behind. Canadians have no idea. You don't know how sick this system has made you, how socialist but extremely fascist so many are in majority, and I see it. You're seeing the Alberta Separatists. Think about an American. Wow, these people are literally right out of our archives, out of 182 years ago, Republic of Texas, the Spanish colonial infusion. They can't find this kind of crazy until they go way, way back. 182 years. Think about that. Think about that. You can't even find Texans that have any remote concepts or thought like that today. No one would talk. They'd be like, what? That's crazy. That's called Canadian. Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Bloc, Green, they all, in a majority, think like that. You're going to be hard-pressed not to find 8 out of 10 talking like that. That's all normal. Oh, yeah, this is ours. They're shit people. Oh, yeah, that's how they are. Just like Americans are shit, right? You see it. That's how they are. It's what the government made them to be. It's what the system promotes. It's what it creates. Each and every aspect of our lives in Canada. That's how it is. Not good. Not good. That's my video. Do the right thing. Share, share, share. You look at American history, and this becomes in your face, a likely reality when Canada won't capitulate and they're willing to go down the toilet, or we're going to go off down the toilet and bring China to teach you a lesson for what you did to us. Oh, no. They'll say, how about we teach you a lesson for all the evil you done? And you're going to find out the world's going to go against you. They're going to go with us. There's lots of ways to get to where they need to be. And they will beat you, Canadians. They will beat any of your dumb, socialist, fascist, ignorant government officials from all aisles. Because they all think like this. They all promote it even though they know it's a lie, especially sitting politicians. They know the extreme lies. They know the extreme propaganda against the United States. And some of them have taken it too far. I can tell you that. Not a good future for them after their politics with the United States of America. God bless. That's my video. Do the right thing. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Educate as many as you can. Love you all. Bye now.